Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. It is Friday. Everybody knows what that means. Kermit is in effect. He's green and loving it, and it's Friday, TGIFF, as we say it over here in American Scouser. I am your host, as always, this morning, Timuchin, here in like a ridiculously hot and humid Chicago, mind you. And with us, bright as can be, Alex. What is up with the bright colors this morning?
Just end of supposed to be laundry day tomorrow, so I'm down to the last couple of colors until I have to do that. So
Running out of Iowa Hawkeye stuff, huh? Just
yeah, that, talk about hot and humid, man. It is really humid out here in Iowa too. Oh my goodness, I
yeah,
think it's 85 already.
yeah, it's supposed to be like in 90s over here today. Alan's listening. Good morning, Alan. And Darren with us. Daz, what's up, man? Good morning. So a couple of things to get to. First off, we have this going on right now. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel and you're automatically qualified. We just announced it yesterday, so it'll be going throughout this month. But already a lot of new followers, so welcome aboard. Let us know what you think of the contents. Tell our friends. Let's get this pyramid scheme going. Everybody tells another one, and everybody gets everybody in, kind of thing. I'm really big on this. Back in the Amway, the old people will remember the Amway days. I don't. Do you know what Amway is or the Amway
No,
days?
yeah, not a clue.
Exactly. Like I said, old people will remember it. Okay. So let's get to some of the rumors and stuff. We talked about a couple midweek. So we're addressing the rumors totally separately here. I'm just gonna bring it up. You tell me what you think of it. So the latest, I guess, apart from after like Kone and Thuram that came up this week, and obviously there's like the ongoing McAllister saga going, but we have Mickey Van der Veen. I just made that Veen up. But that sounds good. So hopefully that's what it is. Could be Van de Ven, something like that too. But Van de Veen sounds a lot,
Mm,
more Dutch, I guess. So what do you say? It does say 18 in transfer market, but they're talking about like in the 40s. I guess the biggest concern is Bayern is interested, and if Bayern is
right.
interested in Germany, I don't even know why waste or spend time in discussions. But with all transfers, we do this. Any transfer rumor. So from real deal to bullshit, very likely to not bloody likely. Where do you put this?
I say, you know what? I'm going to say very likely. We were talking off live before this, and some people might not know, but I watch a lot of Bundesliga. I think he definitely fits our MO of center backs. Tall, good in the air. He can score too, which is nice. Um, Very strong, good tackler. If there was somebody to compare him with, I wouldn't say he's around kind of like Van Dyke. I would say he's more comparable to Matip. Long stride, long legs, uh, not very injury prone. And the biggest thing is he's young. I think he was 21 or 22 or something like
He's
that.
22, so he's only played in the Netherlands U21s up until now.
Mhm.
Pretty stiff competition, I mind you,
Yeah,
to be the center back in that national team. But um, it says center back, other position left back. So he's like left sided for the most part, I would assume, based on
yep,
that. Um, I mean, I guess it only makes sense. I mean, I'm not going the you put it that very likely, right? I put it exactly where it's at right now, where that dial is, where it says could happen. I can see it happening because of a lot of the ties that we have now with the sporting director. So we'll talk a bit about that too. But is he really being considered by Bayern? I think is the biggest thing because not a lot of players come out of Germany if Bayern is in the market for him. It's a safer bet for them, number one, and since Dortmund chokes away everything, it's almost like a guaranteed title, number two.
right. Well, I think it's good. I think what it really comes down to him is who would he rather have as his coach? Really, would he rather have Tuchel, or would he rather have Klopp? I mean, if he comes to Liverpool, he has a pretty high let's be honest, he has a pretty good chance of playing games. I don't know if he gets to start over.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you really think a player looks at Klopp and says, "This guy rotates a lot. I'm sure I'll get a lot of opportunities"? Because I wouldn't. If I'm a player and I'm not, my spot is not guaranteed, or I'm gonna get, I'm gonna be part of the rotation, if you will. I don't look at Klopp and say, "Yeah, that's the destination for me. This guy rotates like crazy," because he doesn't. By the way, I don't want this to go to waste. That Matush already has the "Oh Mickey, you're so fine" in our back line. Hey
I
Mickey
hope
thing going.
that's
It
his
is too early to sing that
about it.
fully, but I think I got close enough. Yeah, only Matush would come up with that. But that's good. It's a built-in song ready to go. But okay, I understand your point, and I think you can look at Klopp and you can look at Tuchel and say, well, Klopp is definitely going to be there
Hmm.
for the next 2 3 years or whatever. Whereas, you look at Tuchel and you're like, he might be gone by January. You never know with this guy. So I guess that's a positive. But do you really think, like in playing time, Klopp puts the thing in our favor?
I think he does. I mean, I really, honestly, I think he does. Because the one thing that, yeah, the playing time, I think he would play a lot in the Europa League. Um, but going back to it, you know, the one thing most players say when they go to Liverpool and they're, you know, people are interested in him going to Liverpool. The one thing is like they always have good things to say about Klopp, and current players always have good things to say about Klopp. And I think that's what's ultimately gonna happen. Because the other thing we also do have to recognize is, um, we know Klopp doesn't like to always rotate, but we also have to recognize that Tuchel also doesn't really like to rotate. I don't know if it's just a German thing. It could just be a German thing. I don't know. But Tuchel is a totally different personality than Klopp. Like Klopp, he's kind of like, they're both demanding, but at the same time, Klopp knows, um, he knows that these guys, uh, what is the word I'm trying to think of? He knows that, like, I don't know. I think I'm losing track of what the word would be.
Yeah, I almost get like a little bit of bias more than anything else because I
Yeah,
think, I mean, obviously we like him. You can tell players like him, the environment he creates. I don't think you can kind of, um, I don't know, you can kind of say the environment they're going to come into, the team atmosphere and stuff like
right,
that is going to be better when, you're comparing Liverpool's to, Bayern's locker room where Mane and Sane are like going at each other in the background and stuff like that. But I just think in terms of if it was playing time for a young player, I don't know how much of an appeal Club presents. He has made some good like young players and he does trust young players, so you can definitely say that he doesn't go by age. He knows by how well you know the system and how well you play within the system. But at the
mm-hmm,
same time, you could kind of tell a lot of people who have transferred to Liverpool in terms of getting more playing time and earning their spot, and they just never got that opportunity because really
right,
we do not rotate that much. Mateus says this kind of signing tips the scale of the
yeah,
newer formation, offering more cover on that left side. Could see him in with Robo for that sort of three at the back stretch cover. And I think that's the thing. That's what I like when I look at his scouting report, if you will, because I don't follow a lot of Bundesliga, so I'm not going to go out and say, he does this, he does that. And I'll be honest, I didn't even YouTube this guy because I think defenders being YouTube is even worse than attackers being YouTube. Because as a defender, I can tell you there's some mighty good YouTube videos I can put together myself, but I'm not going and playing in pro either. So I think in that sense, his speed and stuff like that is
mm,
definitely a plus. So I
yeah,
can see it happening in that one. So I'm still putting the dial right where it's set over there at could
okay,
happen. And I think it goes a lot. Honestly, I would probably put it on doubted if it wasn't for the sporting director. I'm kind of expecting a bunch of signings like this. People
right,
we might not have heard of unless you're really following Bundesliga and
mm-hmm,
about this price range. I'm thinking like 10 to 30 million, 10 to 35 million
mm-hmm,
players that will come in ideal and make an impact, or maybe honestly, I can see a lot of them being bought and loaned right back too, as almost like putting him in your back pocket because the young player.
Right. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And just kind of harping on the one thing that the one thing about his positioning, he does play in a 5-3-2 a lot in the Bundesliga. So, and he usually plays on that left-sided center back. So, I think he definitely would fit in with our current system, especially with his speed, like you said, his tackling, and all that. I do also think I agree with you too. I think we're going to have some signings that are young players in the Bundesliga that we just bring in for maybe future stars. Who knows? But I was getting the vibe with that too when you said that. I think did you say that a couple days ago in Discord? And I did agree. I did agree with you after thinking about it. I think there's going to be a lot of those kind of signings as well. Just small marquee kind of signings.
I mean, you
18.
would think that's kind of his strength. I mean,
Yeah.
and that was, I guess, my initial when we signed him as sporting director. I think we talked about this with Mateusz on one of the Monday mornings. I mean, to me, it said more about, you know, we're gonna go for quantity as well this off season. It's not going to be two big names and call it an off season kind of a thing. A, we need him anyway, but B, I think the guy we brought in more specializes on finding these diamonds in the rough as opposed to signing these big marquee
Right.
players and dealing with the big agents and stuff like that. I think it's more about getting players that are maybe I don't want to say like undervalued, but I mean, I guess undervalued in the grand scheme of things. If you look at their future, if you like kind of like project how much they're going to be worth and
Right.
getting those players, and we might get them for 15,
Yep.
and they might turn out to be this 60-70 million dollar player,
Yep.
or even if they do not, then we still sell them for like 20 or something like that, and definitely don't want to lose money on them. So I
Yeah.
think we are going to see a lot of that
Yep.
with this new dude. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. City already does that. So if we follow like what City does, I think it will definitely go in our favor because you think about it, they sold all those players to like Southampton and to a bunch of different other clubs, and a lot of that money they finance Holland to come in. So, and that I think that is something that
Yeah, see, okay, here's where I differ with that. I mean, that's a different spending mechanism. Because I understand they've done that, and we talked about this in the Premier League show before. I understand that, and they do smart business, but it's a lot easier to do smart business if your portfolio is larger and
mm-hmm,
you can have a larger portfolio and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy 5 expensive stocks, and then you know what, I'm going to just dive in and take like 10 low stocks. You can do that if your freaking portfolio is huge and you're investing a lot of money. And yes,
sure,
it does make you look smart when those small stocks go up. This is why they say money attracts money, because then you can make more and you can kind of get rewards. And if you don't make one of them, you're like, meh, whatever,
mm-hmm,
because you made money on the other ones. When your
yeah,
portfolio is smaller, you can only pick less stocks.
mm-hmm,
So I feel like then you have to decide. I mean, it's not really following the city model where they can go both ways. They can go buy the top players and expensive ones and still be able to gamble on the low side. I feel like when you're Liverpool, with the budget you have, that is not an endless pit like cities. You either have to kind of decide, hey, we're going to go after 2, 3 marquee signings, or we're going to get maybe one, and then the rest of them are going to go. We're going to get 6, 7 guys that we feel like they fit.
So are you thinking it's going to be more like um, how business is done at like a smaller club where they'll get a guy that, like you said, might not be like a marquee kind of signing, get him in for like a couple $1 million and then sell him on eventually?
Not
Is,
as, I mean, you're kind of like right in the middle, aren't you? In terms of your, I mean, you kind of have to have a mix of the mindset. You can't
right,
have a City or Newcastle mindset when you're shopping,
right.
but you can't, and you don't want to have a United mindset either. Just
Yeah.
spend, just to almost spend to justify the spending kind of a deal. You kind of have to balance. You have to find a balance. And that's why, when we say, oh, City does good business, I think it's a lot easier to do good business when you have more money to spend and invest. Um, Cersei says one marquee signing and a new lawnmower is our budget. I think our budget is more suited for like 1 to 2 marquee signings. And when we say marquee, I guess we're talking over 50 million, right? I mean, that's kind of like what I consider big signings kind of a deal, over 50 million people, $50 million people. So we sign those, maybe 1 or 2, and then you're gonna get a lot of guys like this, or maybe like the guys we talked about earlier in the week, like Conan, stuff like that, that are not maybe over 50, but have the potential to be. And I mean, let's face it, a lot of the signings we've done in the past, when we signed Fabinho, unless you were following like the club, like League One specifically, I mean, even in Brazil, he was playing like right back and stuff when he played. So we did not know much about him. So as long as the club is able to, and Klopp is able to go and identify and say, this is the guy we need, which I was going to ask you about that, because the new sporting director was talking about how it goes in terms of transfers. And he said something about the input of the coach in transfers is greater in England than in
Yeah,
Germany, where a sports director holds everything in one hand. Whereas in England, and especially at Liverpool, basically Klopp says, I need a right back. And then they were like, well, here's some 5 names. It's almost like a recruiting agency. They were like, here are 5 resumes for you. And then he says, well, let's go after this guy. This will be my second choice, kind of a deal. But I would think those guys offered on the
right.
menu are within a certain price range.
hmm Yeah, especially see, a lot of people won't know a whole lot of stuff about Coney. To be honest, he fits the profile a lot like how you just described Fabinho. He was at Toulouse for a while. Toulouse got relegated. He was down in Ligue 2 for a year with Toulouse. They got promoted back up. After they got promoted back up, after that terrible time he had there, um, he went. He was bought by Mönchengladbach, and he's been there ever since. He's mainly played the defensive midfielder in the midfield role. He's not a very good scorer. I'm going to be quite honest with you. He doesn't have the best shot, but he is a lot like Fabinho in he's a good tackler. He makes smart decisions. Yes, he might have a lot of yellow cards to his names, but if you look at his stats, he doesn't have a lot of red cards. So that makes me think, hey, he makes good decisions. Now,
Or,
you were talking,
or he was subbed out. I don't know. I don't follow you.
good, yeah,
Or they yanked him before he got the red. I
it
don't know.
could.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you though. Like I say, like the couple of highlights I watched, the only thing that scared me is some of the shit he does right in front of your own box. Like he has a little Thiago in him that way. So as he says, Fabinho was great right back for Monaco, and I think that's the thing. But when we signed them, I don't know. There are a lot of players, fans want players to be signed where they're like, yes, that guy. But sometimes, and in most cases, especially for Liverpool, the guys that made a huge impact have been guys where when we
Right,
signed them, there wasn't like a ridiculous overjoy of, getting him in. It was more of like a, well, let's see what happens kind of a thing. I mean, I
right,
think it was the same thing with heck, Bobby, for example.
right.
So hey, let's bring this guy on. The walk of shame. Kazi is with us. I'm assuming you don't have the morning coffee
I'm
because
mate.
since you didn't make it on time.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm moving house. I got the keys yesterday, and in my head, this starts at 7:30, even though it's never started at 7:30. I managed to convince myself that it was 7:30. So I was like, "Yeah, moving house, packing." Yeah, sorry, guys.
Yeah, if you're a new follower, this show has never started at 7:30.
I don't know what I'm doing. My head is gone. Moving house is a pain, isn't it? Honestly.
You know what? I can only imagine. Last time I moved was when we bought this house. Oh, Jesus, now it's been like what, 22 years or whatever. And it was a pain to move from an apartment. I would rather die than move out of this house at this point because I'm moving out of this house in a casket.
Oh,
I am not moving anywhere else soon. Okay, a couple of headlines to get to. We talked a little bit about transfers. I don't know if you have anything to say about the new sporting director. I don't think we ever got a chance to talk about it with you. Are you on the up and up with the guy? Are you like me with the guy? Where you at?
don't. For me, I just feel like he's spoken more than Michael Edwards has in the last 6 years, in the last 1 week.
Is that because we're expected to do a lot of business, you think, though?
Yeah, I mean, they brought him in for a reason, but for me, I don't understand why it's on a short-term deal. That was the only one that was confusing to me when you knew Julian Ward was leaving October time.
Yeah.
Around then, I think, before Christmas. And now it took you up until now to hire the guy and go, by the way, we're only going to give you 3 months or whatever it was. It just seemed a bit weird. It seemed a bit last minute. But yeah, whatever. Listen, if
and he's almost doing like an internship. like a summer intern coming over. Yeah. Like, let's see what you can do. Do some transfers.
Yeah. We're going to bring you in for 6 months. If your signings are shit, you don't get the job. If your signings are great, you're in the books.
Yeah, I guess that's a good, way to encourage him to make good signs. I don't know if it's more. So how do you take that, Alex? Is that more of like we're waiting for somebody else's contract to be open, and this guy knows, and he said, "I'll come in. I only know 10 players anyway, and I'll get him over the summer, and then you guys can bring the other guy. I'm cool with it," kind of deal, or was this a huge jump for him as well?
Well, first of all, we also have to realize that this guy also was accused of throwing a piece of used chewing gum at the opposing manager during a game. I don't know if you guys saw that article. Back in 2016, he decided to take some gum out of his mouth and throw it at Julian Nagelsmann during a match because he was mad about a decision. So I am all for this. I'm all for this mad guy coming in. I don't know what is going on. Maybe they think he's just a little bit too crazy to give him the full-time job, and they're like, here you go, 3 months. Let's see. But I also did think it was kind of weird. But I also do agree with you at the same time. I think he's probably their second choice at this point. I think they brought him in to be that placeholder until they wait for somebody else to come in. That's what it seems like to me.
I think as well. I think probably the last thing we'll say on him, right? I think Klopp has kind of into someone going, hey, I don't want to answer these questions about the Super League. I don't want to answer these questions about other shit. I just want to do me fucking football. Do you know what I mean? I'm Danko. I'm the football man. And let this guy just do the talking for the other clubs, Anfield Road expansion and all this kind of stuff. I can't be asked. I think there could be something into Klopp going, I can't be asked. So I just need the guys who come out and just front for the club and go, you're the front for the club. You talk a lot of shit. Go and talk some shit to the media and sell that because I can't be bothered talking about it. So there could be something to that as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, it's very possible that they're like, yeah, we want to. It's just the short-term thing kind of throws me off. And like say, either he knows as well, or kind of like what you're saying, Kazi. It's more like, well, let's see, here are the keys. Drive us around the block, and then if you can get us back home, then we'll give you like a long-term contract. You can drive to work. But okay, so speaking of people who are causing trouble with throwing shit around. Wrong one. Here we go. Jose Mourinho. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch the final. I didn't watch the final. I know Alan, who's watching us right now, was not too happy about that final. I don't know if it wasn't the greatest game, but I think, as the time goes on, the stakes are so high, it's so tense. I think the environment automatically is compelling. And obviously it goes to penalty kicks, which is fun to watch if your team is not in it. So I thought it was like a good game and a good watch overall. Mind you, I was working along with it as I was watching it. But a lot of things happened with the ref, obviously. And you knew Anthony Taylor. Well, I actually even said before the game starts to see how long it's going to take before Anthony Taylor loses control of the game. And it sure didn't take long. Kazi, did you get to watch the game? And what do you make of the whole theater around it? Because there was a lot of theater.
You knew what we were going to get, I think. It was a lot of theatre. Anthony Taylor lost the control of the game about 4 minutes in, maybe.
Yeah.
A typical Tony Taylor performance, really. We see it in the Premier League every week. Might as well see it in Europe on the big stage. Of course, the Mourinho getting charged. It's wrong what he said. We're not going to sit there and argue. It's wrong what happened to Anthony Taylor's family in an airport. No one is here to condemn that. But the one thing I would say is, though, this is a part of a bigger conversation of if the referees just came out and explained the decisions to the managers after the game, this wouldn't happen. So if Anthony Taylor came out and went, this is the reason why I booked this guy, this is the reason why I booked that guy at the time, this goes back to the bigger whole overall conversation. It does calm a lot of things down because he's come out and explained his decisions. But when the referees are so protected, listen, no one's agreeing what happened. It's a disgrace what happened. And Mourinho should be banned considerably because, he's a repeat offender. No one's arguing that. Again, but it would help the situation if Anthony Taylor and all the Referees Association come out straight after the game and interviewed and said, this is the reason why I did that, this is the reason why I did that, and explained their points. We see it in the Premier League all the time, by the way. Not, of course, to that level, but when we go, why have they made that decision? We don't know why have you done that sending off? Why have you booked that guy there? Why has he stayed on the pitch? If he just came out and explained the decision, a bit like Howard Webber's trying to do right now in the next season. But he said he's only going to do this a month after the game, which doesn't help us in any way.
But you're like, what was that? Like,
we're not here
to archives.
Mate, we're not here to grill you. We're just here to go straight after the game. Out of interest, why is that a yellow, not a red? Why is that a pen and not a pen? And what's your interpretation of that? If the referees came out and did that with an Italian interpreter, for example, on Italian news or after the game, this would help calm the nerves to go, okay, I see your point of view. But when it doesn't happen, this stuff is going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a tough one, really. And I'll be honest, like, I even thought I'm assuming the biggest argument is probably the penalty thing. I thought initially, even after seeing a couple of the replays, I thought it was a penalty because only one angle really shows him touching the ball, and the ball doesn't change direction. And I'm assuming that's why Anthony Taylor gave it in the first place, because he can't see that the ball was touched because the ball is going the same direction. And then they overturn it because people on Discord were like, see, this is how VAR should work. I was like, am I looking at something different? Because I don't see him touching the ball. To me, it's a penalty. And then, there was one angle where you saw him touching the ball and stuff. But I feel like even if he comes out and says, because the ball was touched, I think by then, probably Mourinho knows that, you would think. Even I fucking knew by then. So you would think he would know. Do you think it changes it, Alex, if they explain it, or it's just a matter of being kind of like a sore loser at the end of the day? Somebody's not going to be happy because somebody's going to have lost.
See, the thing is like, I don't know if you can explain anything to Jose and him afterwards going, yeah, I can see that. No, that's not Jose. I do agree with Kazi. I think explaining the decision after it's made. I mean, you're already over there looking at the monitor. Just take a few minutes to be like, here, this is why this right here is why I'm reversing the decision. I hate to compare football to American football, but that is one of the things that, like, in American sports that happens a lot is when a call is made and it's reversed, they immediately go over to the coaches and explain why it was reversed. They take those extra minutes. And I feel like you can take those extra minutes, especially when you got stoppage time anyways. Just take a couple minutes, explain why the decision was made, and then move on from there.
See, I don't know if I want those. Yeah, I don't want to take those extra couple of minutes. I can tell you that right now. I think, if anything, the fourth ref can be like, he can tell the fourth ref, you go fucking tell him why we did it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want Anthony Taylor going over there and having a discussion. These VAR already, because I think it's different than football. Football is stopping. American football stops more than it's played. So those guys are used to stopping. It's almost like, thank God. Like the big offensive lineman is like, take all the time you want. Talk over there, explain it to him, draw graphs or whatever you got to fucking do, because he's trying to catch his breath anyway. So that game stops a lot by design. So that's fine. But in soccer, I don't know. You don't want to stop and have a bunch of like freaking injuries because of this like 5-minute stop, then sprint again, pull my hammy kind of thing. I don't want that. But I agree that the fourth official, who's not, I don't even know what they're doing apart from like keeping people in a box in a rectangle.
I don't know this fella. I've got a question. Does the fourth official listen to VAR?
Yeah, because they all have this. I mean, they're all on the. Unless you listen to music, they're all in the same station.
I have no idea. So my argument is then, if they can hear the VAR conversation, why can't the referee go on, play the game, and then the fourth official goes over and goes, "This is why our ref has overturned it. He just said this. The VAR has said that, and let the fourth official do it then." But if you're not,
they almost use the fourth official not at a. I think this is all on the federations. The fourth official is not used as a person of authority. He's more like an usher over there.
Yeah.
So, when the fourth assistant comes over, it's like, no, I want to talk to the manager. Like, pull a Karen Moore's like pulling a Karen and wants to
Yeah.
talk to Anthony Taylor. It's like, I don't want to talk to the assistant. I want to talk to the manager.
Good.
Like wants Anthony Taylor to explain to him. I think if you made the fourth official more important in that stature and gave him that role to say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what the VAR said.
Yeah.
This is what they saw. This is what we're doing. But then here's the thing. Do you want the fourth official to pull a conversation with Mourinho for like 3 minutes and not do everything else, whatever else he does?
But that's where the assertiveness comes in. Of going, listen, Jose, here's what happened and here's why he's done it. I'm not here to have a conversation with you. I'm here to explain the situation of what happened. But I think the argument is why Mourinho, I think he booked Rafa Mir off the bench when he was on the bench because of his and stuff like that. And it's
so he's on the sideline being like snitching on them, obviously.
I know this, and the bigger part about all of this, and of course, Anthony said what happened to his family is disgusting, and Roma probably will get sanctioned, and I understand with the Mourinho, and he did stoke the fire, 1,000%. The bigger conversation of this is as well, how the fuck did Anthony Taylor get that game? Because don't you watch him week in, week out? He's an appalling referee. How the hell has he got from the Europa League final? You need a competent ref. I don't care what country they're from. I think no English refs went to the last World Cup. I'm sure that was correct. No Premier League.
That, yeah.
I'm sure I heard no Premier League. There's a reason. They're garbage. They're absolutely garbage. So I don't know how we got the game in the first place. Hopefully the Roma fan... No one I look Liverpool, Joe Roman in the Europa League. That's Liverpool's look all over. And we have to go to Roma and go and face Mourinho just one last time. Just put the bullet in my head, please.
But, Kazi, I have a question for you. Are you really surprised that UEFA put him in, especially since they just put a neo-Nazi in charge of the Champions League?
Yeah, let's get to that, by the way. So let's talk about that, because that's another headline over here. Oh, let's do this one here. So the story is he was Szymon Marciniak. Hopefully Polish Prince is still listening and kind of tell us how to pronounce that, but let's go with that, Marciniak. Anyway, so he is actually speaking at an event hosted by a guy that's far right, and he apologized, and he was like, I didn't know where I was at. I mean, here's the thing. I don't know the dude, but I'm assuming, our Polish Prince Mateusz is here and knows the guy. So I'm assuming everybody in Poland knows who this guy is. I mean, I'm here, and there are some figures that if they invited me to talk in Turkey, I'd be like, no, man, I don't think I fit the crowd there, and I'm not going to go. So this guy saying I didn't know where I was and apologize. And I'm like, okay, it shit happens. I talked to the freaking KKK meeting myself on mistake by one time or something. And then they freaking put the guy, okay. I don't understand how that happens. Is it a lack of referees? And going back to why Anthony Taylor was picked, is it because we don't have enough solid people? So we're like, he's a bit neo-Nazi, but what are you going to do?
I'm a big fan, by the way, of the idea of the fella just going, well, they had a great buffet. What you want me to do? You know what I mean? They were serving curry and rice.
They have the best pierogies over there.
You know what I'm saying? They were serving curry and rice, boys. Fucking hell, come on then, I'll go along. I'm a big fan of that. I didn't know where I was. You didn't know. What do you mean you didn't know? He was just there, literally just picking up the food, going, fucking hell, there's a lot of fucking swastikas around here. Fucking hell.
Dude, he's not even that's the thing, Alex. He's not just there. He's not there because somebody said, they have the best pierogies. He's talking at the freaking event. So you would think you know what you're walking into.
Yeah, that's what we were talking off air. We were talking about, there's no way he did not know this was a right-wing event. There's just no way he did not know that. I refuse to believe that excuse. I refuse to believe it. He was there because that's what he believes, Mm-hmm. And he got invited, probably got some money out of it, had a great buffet, like Kazi said. And he was hoping nobody would have recognized him. And somebody recognized him and went to the media about it.
I talked at the event. It's not even he was, that's what I mean. He wasn't even in the crowd. He's like, nobody sees him. The mustache with the glasses. So he has some good pierogies. I mean, he's out there talking. He's probably announced as one of the speakers at the event, you would think.
Yeah. Bro.
I'm a big fan of, by the way, Lukaku just sitting there at home going, at least I'm not getting off, boys. Woohoo! Kanji and Ake are going, yeah, boy, get in. We're fucking staying on the pitch today. No 2 fouls here, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's mind-boggling because it's not even like
it's insane.
I don't know. I mean, any kind of bigotry like this is freaking like beyond wrong. But I mean, it's something that obviously you would think affects his decision making on a day-to-day basis in his daily life, leave alone on the pitch.
I know this is like again deeper, but I think if a Lukaku or a black guy comes up to him and he's arguing in his face, if you fully believe that and you're speaking at right wing events, you would treat that. I'm sorry, you would book that person or you would do something. I'm sorry,
yeah,
because if that's what you fully believe, you'd look and think things in your head and think, well, I'm going to punish you for saying that because I've got the power to do that.
I mean, you already have it in it for him for some fucking ridiculous reason, obviously.
Insane.
But
insane.
Yeah, that's why like you're saying, Alex. But I mean, going back to that, do you guys think it's because like there's a lack of referees that they can go to that they're like, I guess, apology accepted, shit happens, kind of a deal, sweeping under the rug?
I think a lot. It's kind of. If I could compare it, it's kind of like baseball, because baseball runs based on experience. And the thing is like, I didn't know what that guy's name is, but the three of us have all recognized him in Champions League games.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's more of that Anthony Taylor and this guy, they just have more experience than probably other referees around Europe. So, since they have more Champions League matches under their belt, they have high, like, big UEFA, FIFA World Cup, everything under their belt. Those guys will probably be the first names on your list of who you're going to put in charge of finals. I think that's what ultimately comes down to, because also that Spanish referee, that guy, I can't remember his name, but he's always there. He's another one that's always refereeing in finals.
Yeah.
Well, and he might after the Turkish referee retired too. So like, there's no the ball dude that's
the ball
in our final, wasn't he? He was the fourth official when we won the final, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
But going back to one, there's a bigger picture of this. So he's apologized. Okay, cool. UEFA's stance on racism anyway is horrific.
Yeah.
This guy should never referee a football match again.
Nope.
But he's always apologised. What do you mean? I'm what? I don't want your apology. I want you never to be seen on a football field again. But This is a bigger part with the UEFA conversation. If you are in a minority, you can sit there and go, don't even fucking punishing the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can go to these places and get racially abused, and that's okay. We'll just ban that section of the stadium for one game. What are we talking about? It comes back to the bigger picture. UEFA's stance on racism is fucking horrific. It's appalling. It's absolutely, and I'm sorry for my language, by the way, guys, because you might have kids there, but this is something, of course, we all feel passionate about, and it should be changed. And he apologised. What do you mean he apologised? Never want to see him on a football field again. Go to Poland. Go to your right-wing things and do what you like.
I mean, what did they expect him to say?
I know.
I mean, clearly he's going to be like, oh, my bad. I didn't even freaking know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have already told you what he's going to say. Don't even freaking ask him.
Oh, no.
This is what he's going to say.
Oh, yeah, I might lose my $300K a year job playing and rubbing shoulders with the greatest stars in the world. I had to apologise. Get out of here.
Exactly. I don't know. If it's shocking, at the same time, we shouldn't be shocked. It's one of those deals there. Sadly, we shouldn't be shocked at this stage, the way they do it. And then, afterwards, it's hard to, be taken seriously when you are taking action against a club or like a stadium and stuff like that. And I think even there, and I don't know, I might be semi-biased for this, being Turkish and all, but then there's a big bias in terms of which fans get which punishments, because UEFA is racist themselves. At the end of the day, I mean, literally, because some of the shit that happens at Roma stands, if that happened in Istanbul from a Turkish team, They would not play the next game. They would be in an empty. But over there, they'll just get like a fine and they'll just get away with it. So the punishment that they pass out, if it's like an Eastern, I don't know, if it happens in Poland, they will get a rougher punishment than an Italian or a Spanish team. And that's, that's UEFA in a nutshell.
It's always the top 5 leagues.
Yep.
They're always so protected. The top 5 leagues are so protected because they earn so much money for them. So they're so protected. And they're trying to sell, these games as well to UEFA. And they don't want to fucking see empty stadiums when UEFA are trying to sell these. Let's get it right. The top 5 leagues are the biggest teams in the world, the most watched leagues in the world. And that's the reason why as well. So as you are right, it's clearly biased.
I think it's more, I think you would fill the stands, even if it's a Polish team, Turkish team, Ukrainian team, whatever. I think you would fill the stands, but maybe not as many people tune in to watch it.
Yeah,
TV money suffers and, all that kind of, it's money at the end of the day.
I'm not watching Legia Warsaw versus Fenerbahce.
What? You bastard. You know what? That's it. You're out.
I know what I mean. I'm not watching Legia Warsaw versus Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, all those lads. I'm just not watching.
I wouldn't watch it if it was Galatasaray. I would, but I would root for Warsaw. That's why I would watch it, just to root against them. That's the only reason I would watch. But before we go, last topic I wanted to get your guys' take on. Alex, we'll start with you. Mason Mount. Looks like he's out of the picture, kind of, sort of, maybe kind of like overpriced anyway, probably. I would love to have him, but where are you at with it?
I don't know. If they're hard stuck on 80 million, I feel like I think it would be different. My answer would be different if we didn't know, like if we didn't have McAllister. Maybe it would be different then. But I think since we have McAllister coming in, hopefully within the next week, 80 million for Mason Mount seems to be kind of steep at this point. Especially, does he have 1 year left in his contract? And they want 80 million for him?
Yeah, one year.
I think so, yeah, because he didn't sign the extension. So basically he will be playing out his last year, if you will.
Because I remember Kazi said like months ago that he'd be around 60. I think 80's just kind of tough to justify in a way. But I think, I don't know, I would pass him at this point, especially if they're asking for 80. And you kind of think, you already know that Manchester United is definitely going to drop that 80 million. It could even be 90 for him if they have add-ons and stuff. So,
but that's the kind of thing that United does, though. Like they would overpay because then they don't want it to be like, oh, we couldn't get him at the end, kind of a deal. It's just like the Glazer way of doing business. But so as he says, I can't remember the last time a Londoner played well for us. Paul Walsh, no Londoners, bullet missed. I have to think. I can't think of anybody right now either. He might have a point there that I didn't think about.
There's always that funny thing, especially being from the country, that Southern players do not come up well to Liverpool. And like our best ever Southern player is probably Adam Lallana. It's marginal, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
hold on, I gotta go back in the archives and think now. Yeah.
Yeah, probably in the at least in the Premier League, and our most successful at least is probably Adam Lallana.
So do you see it as bullets missed as well?
I am gutted, yeah. I am gutted.
Oh, you are gutted. Okay.
Yeah, I am gutted, mate. Yeah, no, I am fully on the Mount train, and I feel like
even for 80.
No, but
I mean that's where I'm at, I guess. Like, I really want him, Mount. I think he gives us a lot of, like, he has that versatility that we like and we could have really used. He can fill in for a lot of positions. 80 seems steep to me as well. But I think it's the English factor, obviously. But
yeah, to be fair though, with United, they haven't agreed the fee. They just agreed personal terms.
Yeah.
Which is easy with most players. So they haven't agreed a fee. United might not go and pay an 80 million for this lad who's out of contract in 12 months and we'll just hang it out, kind of thing. But there's an argument, of course, where Chelsea are trying to drive up prices because they need to balance the books. So there is that argument. They might want 80, but they might accept 60 or 50. We just don't know. Yeah. We just don't know right now. But if he does sign for United, I'll be gutted because I think he really improves them as well. Because I know they're short up front, United, but I think they are short in midfield as well. Bruno Fernandes is a lazy bastard. So I think if you can get like a Mount around him to do some running for him, you might be able to get the best out of him as well. So I know the homegrown thing is a big conversation that Liverpool have. The homegrown thing kicks in for players aged 22 and over. So I think Curtis Jones now counts as a homegrown player, which is awesome for Liverpool. I know like Sepp Vandenberg technically counts as a homegrown player now because he's been in the league so long and he was a kid. I think I seen that. Was it Leighton Clarkson and Reece Williams and I think it's Jaros, the keeper Jaros. I think he counts as well.
Oh,
They're
really?
all that age now. Yeah. So it's a really weird one, but Liverpool with the homegrown thing is a thing. So when you see someone, one of the most talented homegrown players, go to a rival, that's why when I see Liverpool with Kone and all these lads, I'm like, are any of these born in England? I know Alexis McAllister's dad's from Scotland. I don't know if that counts as anything. I have no idea how it all works.
I don't think so because it's ultimately Argentinian.
He's Argentinian, yeah. So I don't know how it all works. It's super weird, isn't it? So, yeah, I'm gutted. I think it would have been awesome for Liverpool. But listen, by the way, I'm a big fan of Liverpool. I know I was late. I'm sure you guys spoke about it. Big fan of Liverpool. Just sounded big, dead tall players. I'm always into a tall player. As soon as I seen Cody Gakpo, I was like 6'4". Fuck me, get him in. Do you know what I mean? I hate walking around with a gang of midgets. There's nothing worse than seeing Thiago.
Hey, let's not talk about short people like that.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, listen, I don't want to put your centre half to. You know what I mean? Give me right winger. You know, a little nippy lad on the right.
I would not even sniff center half right now at this day and age. I was a sweeper back in the day where they had like a libero, like a sweeper position that is obsolete after they saw me play that position. So
I'm just a big fan of seeing dead tall lads. I don't like Thiago and Elliott starting in the same team because I think that they're short and just get muscled off the ball. I'm just a big fan of big, strong lads. I mean, I don't know. And this like Kone seems massive. I know.
Yeah, I don't have a height restriction thing on my players. I mean, you want a guy like. I mean, you're not gonna have a Thiago that's like 6 foot.
Of course. But I think Thuram's dead tall. This Kone's dead tall when I Google them. I just you know what I mean. I have no idea. But I'm just a big fan of big, tall lads, especially when
I think in most part, this is how it works. The little guy says, well, I'm not going to muscle people, so I better have good footwork and passing. So I think those guys do that better because that's going to be something they focus on. And the big guy says, I'm big. I'm going to work on muscling people out of the place.
I'm also a big fan, by the way, of Alexis McAllister sitting there going, you best not be putting in a 3-man midfield with Thiago and Elliott, pal. I ain't that guy. I ain't that fucking guy. Go and sign some lumps. Go and sign some big fellas. And I'm coming.
Yeah, so he says Mulvey was. I mean, I'm not saying like tall guys can't pass. I'm just saying like usually when you look at like the smaller midfielders, that's their strength because obviously they have a weakness to.
They jink in and out, keep the ball well. They jink in and out. But I'm just also I think Liverpool scored the most goals from set pieces this season. But we're always very high. So I'm just a big fan of having dead tall players. I can't believe Cody Gakpo hasn't scored many headers for us, if any. Cody Gakpo.
You'll be speaking at an event shortly against short people, and then afterwards say, "Sorry, I didn't know."
As long
discrimination against short people.
As long as they have great sandwiches, I'm there. Like that.
I didn't know it was against short people. Okay, well, let's end it on that note. We'll be back Monday. What time will we be back Monday morning, Kazi? Tell the audience that it's not 7:30.
We'll be back at 7 o'clock. By the way, before we go, I'm a big fan of Alex dressing up as the Joker today in his purple and green.
You know, I could not put my finger on what it was. I know I saw the colors, but yes, that's a good. He said it is laundry day in Alex's defense. I asked him earlier.
Yeah. And he's come dressed as the Joker. I'm a big fan of it. He's come dressed as our new chief exec.
He's so behind the laundry. He is going through his Halloween costumes at this point.
He's going to come next week just dressed as a hot dog. Just say it. All right, lads.
Oh, man. Poor Alex. Hey, at least Alex was on time, damn it. Joker or not, right, Alex?
Funny, guys.
Defend yourself. Well, thanks to everybody. We'll be back Monday morning, as I was saying, at our regular time, which is 9 Central, 10 Eastern, and apparently 7 o'clock or whatever at Vegas. You still at Vegas, right?
I'm in Nevada.
Oh, you're in Nevada. Okay. Yeah. So I know you're moving. I know you're moving states again or whatever, but we'll be back on Monday. Do not forget about the giveaway. If you are not already subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend so they subscribe to the channel so they can tell another friend and who tells another friend. All that kind of good stuff. Subscribe, follow, all that good stuff as well. We will be back Monday morning with the Polish Prince. You guys have an excellent weekend. No soccer this weekend, right?
No, FA Cup.
Just so you know, FA Cup is on, but also sure people can subscribe.
Yes. Short people can subscribe. Actually, if you subscribe, you get 2 votes in the giveaway. And yes,
Two for
Kazi
the
is
shorties.
sorry. Kazi apologizes to short people. Okay, we'll be back Monday. I guess there is the FA Cup. A quick prediction: who wins that? I totally forgot about it. Couldn't care less personally.
City.
But
City
City.
5-0.
City.
5-0 City.
City.
Yeah, you know what? I know, like everybody's like, we don't want him treble, blah blah blah. But anything is better than United winning for
Yeah.
me. Sergi
Yeah.
says short lives matter, and yes, they do. Yes, they do. Not if you ask Kazi. Not if you ask Kazi. He will.
Not in
burn
my
you.
midfield. Not in my midfield. You don't.
How tall are you, Kazi?
6'1".
Damn, that's why.
I'm just sitting on the floor. I know I look dead short because I'm sitting on the floor because I'm moving house. I look dead
No,
short.
I thought you put the camera low, so you do look taller, actually.
Yeah. I'm sitting on the floor. It looks like I'm in jail. This looks like a jail cell behind me.
That's why I thought you were late. You were like, "Sorry, guys, I had to, I had to bribe one of the guards to get a laptop in here or something." Well, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you guys Monday morning. Enjoy the FA Cup final if you get to watch it. Otherwise, this ridiculous heat out there if you have it. So take care. See you guys Monday.